Now I want to speak to the teachers of Newton, Massachusetts. All the teachers, every teacher in the Newton public schools from kindergarten to 12th grade. I want you to stand up in front of your class and say, today's lesson, boys and girls, is a vocabulary lesson. We are going to talk about the word in the English language, sociopath. And go to the blackboard and write it, S-O-C-I-O-P-A-T-H. Sociopath, boys and girls. Write it down. Learn how to spell it. Now we're going to research the meaning of this word. And I want you to research everything you can find on the meanings and definitions and explanations of the word sociopath, sociopathic personality and character and mentality. And study everything you can find on the subject of the sociopath mentality, and then compare what you find. And assign this as your class project to your class, to your children, whether it's kindergarten or 12th grade or in between. Your class project is to assign to the kids to learn to understand what the concept sociopath means and what the personalities of the sociopath are typically exhibited as, and compare these findings to the personality types of the people who call themselves the politicians, political leaders in Newton, the school committee members, the aldermen, the mayors, and the superintendents. I challenge every teacher in the Newton public school system to make this your next classroom lesson for whatever class, whatever age group you are teaching. The lesson is sociopath. Let them all study it. Let them all come to understand what the definition of the word sociopath is, what the presentation, the examples, the exhibition of the characteristics of a sociopath. Compare them to the characteristics shown by the people that call themselves Newton's great intellectual and moral leaders, or whatever it is, what kind of leaders they think they are. These people that call themselves leaders, and all they are is a bunch of petty sociopaths. And they're your don't forget, they're your bosses. They're the sociopaths who ultimately have the power to fire you from your lovely little job in the lovely, wonderful, excellent Newton public school system. So you don't want to make any waves. You don't want to cause any trouble. You don't want to possibly offend the Newton school committee members or the school superintendent or the mayor or the alderman, because your bread and butter depends on not making waves and allowing them to think that you're just going to play along with their sociopathic games. They're sociopathic games. They're sociopaths. And I like it, and I think this would be interesting and useful, not only in terms of understanding Newton's politicians, but in understanding the dynamics of the schoolyard. And by schoolyard, I mean classrooms, the whole school situations. What teachers have, for the most part, been extremely inept in grasping the dynamics of the school situations when you throw all people who happen to be born within a certain year together in these classroom situations and these structured situations, and you force them to interact on certain game plans. There's always certain things that are happening that the teachers most often want to close their eyes to and pretend that it's not even happening. And then they act so surprised when some extreme result occurs. Somebody gets hurt. Somebody seriously hurts somebody else. And then you're just like, oh, we didn't see it coming. You didn't see it coming maybe because you weren't looking for it. To begin to understand the notion of sociopaths, sociopathic personalities, you might begin to benefit the students themselves directly in understanding what is often going on right there among them. When I was a kid, and I don't think it's different for most people, there are always certain kids. There are always certain kids in any group, and that's because this is group dynamics. They're often like pecking orders. There are always certain kids who aren't sociopaths. They're the kids who always decide what's the game that's going to be played, who's going to be the leader in the game, who's going to be the captain, and choose the members, choose sides. They decide what the rules are going to be. And when the game goes against them, and even with their own made-up rules, they find themselves losing the game, they are the ones who always reserve the right to change the rules in any way that they see fit at any moment without any warning whatsoever. This is the sociopath mentality. See how often it applies to kids in your classrooms. See how often it applies to teachers in your schools and to your principals in your schools. See how often it applies to the school committee members and to the superintendent of the schools and to the mayor and to the alderman. This may be the most important lesson you ever teach to these kids. This may be the most important lesson that these kids ever learn as they go through the 13 years of Newton Public Schools. The word is sociopath, S-O-C-I-O-P-A-T-H.